Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you, of course, by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. We're on the Mike Francesa channel on the Bet Rivers Network on YouTube, as we have been periodically over the summer, as we have told you all along. We will be there, okay, regularly, once we get into our September action, and it is right around the corner because week one, NFL preseason, begins tomorrow. So football is back, and back in a big way. I will get to some NFL later. Let me start with baseball, and let me start with the Mets, because this is a tricky time now for the Mets. They're on the first of two swings west. Lost in Colorado last night. Some guys have not been hitting of late after having a real big run, like Lindor has cooled off and Nimmo has cooled off. Alonso has never really gotten hot, especially with runners in scoring position, and Alvarez has cooled off. So they've cooled off a little bit, which you would expect. They'll be fine in that regard. But this is a tricky time because the NL competition for the wild card is extreme. You have teams that are in good position in the division. And then San Diego and Arizona are playing very good baseball. They're both 8-2 in their last 10 games. San Diego really improved themselves. You have San Diego, Arizona, and Atlanta sitting in the 3 wild card slots right now. You have then the Mets as kind of the bridge team in the middle, 2 games back in the loss column. And then you have the 3 teams behind the Mets. I'm going to cut it off there. The 3 teams behind the Mets, St. Louis, who the Mets just beat the other day, Pittsburgh, and San Francisco. The Mets need to pull away a little bit from those 3 to give themselves a little working margin there and then zero in. But where is the team they're going to topple there? Is it going to be the Braves, who are still 8 games over 500? Is it going to be San Diego, which has really fortified itself and playing well, or Arizona, which is now playing really well? So the Mets are not going to get to the wild card 1 game over 500. You can forget that. It might take 10 games over 500 to get to the wild card. Right now, the third place team is Atlanta, and they're 8. So here are the Mets at 59 and 54. And it's a tricky time. Trip to Colorado they're in right now. Go to Seattle this weekend. Obviously, dangerous team. Come home, play some teams they should beat. Oakland, Miami, but then in comes Baltimore. And then a critical, and mark it down, August 22. A critical 7-game swing back west against San Diego and Arizona. And if you want to look at this thing, that is going to be 7 enormous games that are going to have an incredible impact on this thing. Because San Diego and Arizona are right there ahead of the Mets, along with Atlanta. And they're going to play 4 in San Diego, starting on the 22nd of August, and they're going to play 3 in Arizona. Then they're going to go play the White Sox and get healthy. The White Sox finally broke that losing streak, but they're one of the worst teams in baseball history. So everybody, the Yankees will see the White Sox soon. The Mets get to see the White Sox. So, hey, listen, if you play the White Sox 3 times, you only beat them 2, it's disappointing. You're supposed to beat them every game. That's just the way it is right now this year. But the Mets are out west. They come home, and then they got to go back out west. That's tough to do in the dog days. It's tough on your pitching staff. Colorado is tough on your pitching staff and tough on your bullpen. So this is a critical time for them. As I told you, a couple of guys have cooled off. You're not worried about Lindor. You're not worried about Nimmo. You're not even worried about Alonso. All right, Alonso said some things he shouldn't say. He might be playing himself out of here. He's making statements that aren't exactly true. Hey, he will be okay. They got proven hitters, and they have depth in that lineup. They have a long lineup because the guys at the bottom of the lineup, whether it's Iglesias, whether it's McNeil now, whether it's Bader, whether it's Taylor, they're all doing the job. So there's a lot of length in that lineup. Add in a pro like J.D. Martinez, who's steady, and they got plenty of offense. Vientos has had a terrific year. They have plenty of offense. It's going to come down to them getting some decent starting pitching, which they have. Manaya's obviously been terrific lately. Getting enough from the starting pitching, but can they get it from the bullpen day in, day out when they have to? That's going to be the thing that decides this. But here's the thing that has happened. The teams at the top of this 7-8 team bunch of teams that are all in the wild card hunt have gotten better. Arizona is playing good baseball. San Diego's improved a lot. These teams are going to be tough to beat. Add in Atlanta, which you know is not going to be a pushover. Despite all their problems this year, they're not going to be a pushover. The Mets are going to have to earn this, and they're going to have to earn it with a better record than we all thought was probably the case a month ago. And you want to first say goodbye to those teams behind you. Get rid of them so that you're only chasing 3 slots and you got to knock one of them off. And that's what it looks like right now. But the Mets aren't far enough away from those teams yet to not worry about them. And this is a tough time because anytime you're going to make 2 swings west in the month of August, which is a month where people get tired anyway, weather plays a factor. Right now in New York City, it's cool, it's damp. We just got 9 inches of rain yesterday. Seriously, we got 5. We're going to get a lot of rain this week. We know that. The weather's cooled off in some places. But it is the dog days. It is the days you got to get through. You got to get from here to Labor Day, then you sprint. There's 49 games left in the season for the Mets. All right? Yes, they're going to have to play winning baseball the rest of the way. They're not going to win this thing 3 over 500. Right now, they're 5 over 500. It's probably going to take 8 or 10 over 500 to get a spot because these teams are starting to play quality ball. But remember those big 7 games, that trip to San Diego and Arizona, which is coming after they play the Orioles. Now, for the Yankees, who rained out yesterday, doubleheader today, one admission. Remember, one admission, doubleheader today against the woeful Angels. The Yankees are in a stretch of games here after getting that game back Sunday that they almost blew. And LeMahieu getting a game-winning single through a 5-man infield. Good for DJ, because let's be honest, in his last 15 games, things haven't gotten better. He's hitting 152. He's hitting 184 for the season, 152 in his last 15. And Stanton, you knew when he came back, it's going to take him a while. He left a small army on base the other day. Right now, Stanton's not hurting anybody. He's 3 for 18 since he came back, but you knew that was going to happen with him. You knew it was going to take him some time. But right now, with the Chisholm move, they have the ability to move things around. They can give Verdugo a day off, which he clearly has needed. Play Grisham in center, and I like Grisham. You can play him in center. I know, listen, he and Judge got to get their act together in the outfield. We know that. But you know what? If you're Grisham, you'd rather drop the ball than knock Judge out for a month. You don't want to do that. So, you know he can catch anything. He's a wonderful center fielder. It's just that you just got to get their act together. He can play left field, though. So you can put Judge in left. You don't have to DH him. You can DH Stanton. And you can put Grisham in center and leave, obviously, Soto alone. Or you can give Torres a day off. You can give anybody on the infield a day off. You can move people around now. You have some versatility because of what Chisholm brings. I don't know what's up with Rizzo. I don't know when we're seeing him or if we're seeing him. But Chisholm, I'm sorry to tell you he wasn't going to hit a home every game of the season. Maybe you thought he was. He gives them some flexibility, but he doesn't give them what I really wanted, and I think is seriously lacking with this team. I thought, because of what they have in Judge and Soto, what was tantamount was to get somebody who could set the table at the top spot. They don't have a leadoff hitter. They have nobody who can get on base. Can you imagine if you have somebody getting on base consistently in front of Soto and Judge what these innings are going to look like? These guys can't get around Soto and Judge. They can't do it. They're going to get him. Soto's going to get him once or twice. Judge is going to get him once or twice. They're going to get him. But they never come up with guys on base because the Yankees have nobody batting leadoff. Torres isn't a leadoff hitter. Verdugo isn't a leadoff hitter. Volpe's not a leadoff hitter. Grisham's not a leadoff hitter. I like to give Grisham a chance when he's in the lineup, but they don't do that because he'll take a walk. But they don't have anybody. And Chisholm clearly has power, clearly has athleticism. He can steal a base. We know what he can do athletically, but he's not a high on-base percentage guy. So they didn't solve that problem. And I thought if they could, it could have unlocked so much for them, not just now, but in the postseason where every at-bat is enormous. And where Judge and Soto are going to be scary to the opposition. And if you open the game with that guy on base in front of them, there's nowhere for them to go. They are going to pitch around them. And if you get a time when Stanton gets hot, he'll wreck the games. I mean, the other day he had a chance to, he got up with the bases loaded, did nothing, got up with second and third, did nothing. Hey, that won't continue for him. He'll figure it out. You know, he always comes back and it takes him a while to get going. But I just wish they could have. I understand that Colorado was asking for a king's ransom for McMahon. I understand that. It just would have been nice if they could have solved that. And I don't think they have any way of solving it on the roster. There's nobody there that will do that consistently well. Nobody. Everyone they've tried has failed. So I don't think there's an answer there, unfortunately. Unfortunately, because I thought that was a critical thing for them going forward. But the Yankees right now have a chance to not only put pressure on the Orioles, but maybe even get in front of them, because you have the Angels, then you have Texas, which, let's be honest, everyone was waiting for Texas to, hit the gas pedal. They haven't. Then comes the White Sox, which is like playing, a double-A team. Then the Tigers. So you have Angels, Texas, White Sox, Tigers, 4 straight losing teams before you play the Indians. This is a time for the Yankees to get fat. They're 7-3 last 10. They've played a little better. All right. They still worry me in spots. The other day against Toronto, let's be honest, they could have broken that game open 9 times. They couldn't get a hit with runners in scoring position. I mean, it happens. You have days like that. They left a small village on base. Lucky to win the game after they give up a run. I don't trust the back. Even with Leiter here, I don't trust the back of the bullpen. I'm not being critical of Holmes. I've said this to you since spring training. To me, you have to be able to have a repeatable pitch and control. And Holmes has days when he has neither. And that's the difference. Also, he does not get enough swing and misses, which you need at the back of the pen. There's times you have to go in there and miss bats to win games. And they're going to have to hold their breath in big games throughout the postseason with this bullpen. There's no way around it. It's just the bullpen they're going to be. Is Leiter better? Does he help them? Yes. Has Weaver been good? Yes. Does Leiter have an out pitch? Yes. But they still are not going to, and no one's trying to make anybody Mariano. That's once in a lifetime. That doesn't come around again. But it's still a weakness for them. As is some inconsistencies in the starting pitching that have to be better. Cortez has to be better on the road. Stroman has to learn to pitch at Yankee Stadium, which I don't think he ever will. I told you from the start this year, my objection was that Stroman is not a Yankee Stadium pitcher. And that's been obvious. He's got a 2 ERA on the road, and he's got a 5 ERA at home. He's given up 15 of his 18 home runs at Yankee Stadium, and he gets hit hard at Yankee Stadium. And Cole hasn't been Cole. But I like what I saw the other day in that he didn't fall apart after he looked like he was going to fall apart. Here we are in the third inning. He's already given up 2 runs and 6 hits and a bunch of hard hit balls, and he then put it together and held them right there. I thought that was a good sign for him. And I'm very critical of him. I understand that. So this team is good enough if everything clicks, but they're a long way from everything clicking. They have some real strengths, including 2 guys having just unbelievable. I mean, Soto's year is tremendous, and Judge's year is on another planet. They are amazing back-to-back, and they have been so good, really remarkably good. But someone else has to be consistent, and that has not been the case. They have to be better up and down the lineup. And if they are, they can be dangerous. Are they automatic to win anything? Absolutely not. I mean, absolutely not. Any one of those teams that'll be in the postseason could beat them. Any one of them. They could beat anyone, but anyone could beat them. And I don't think that's going to change. They're going to play in October. We know that. They're going to win probably right around 92 to 95 games. Somewhere right around there. It'll be enough. Maybe they win the division, maybe not. We'll see. It's a big advantage to win in the division, so you'd like to. The Orioles have not been consistent. They have kind of mirrored their bad runs. Let's see what happens from here. Right now, the Yankees have a chance to make some ground up. Angels, Texas, White Sox, Tigers. Let's see if they can do that. Starting today with a double dip. Now, baseball boost. We give you one on Wednesday. We have one for you today. Let's see what it is. Let me get to it and give you a chance to see if you can come up with something today. All right. Head over to the Bet Rivers app to take advantage of the Wednesday Francesa Baseball Boost. Today's boost is on the Mets to hit at least 3 homers to get the home run bats going at Coors Field against the Rockies. The original odds were 200. We are boosting the bet, or they are boosting the bet, to 220. I would have been a little more generous, maybe getting them 240, but 220 it is. Only on the Bet Rivers app, so check it out. So go there for the Francesa Baseball Boost. We're going to get some emails in. We haven't done that. Let me say this, though, before we do. We've reached week 1 in the preseason. Everybody's had, depending on camp, 10, 11 practices. So you see things. If you are someone who follows it intensely, don't play the highs and lows of the camp. Oh, he threw 2 great deep balls today. Oh, today he looked terrible in the drill. Oh, come on. That's not how you decide a season. That's not how you decide a roster. You can see if there's better personnel there or not. And let me say this. The Giants have improved in spots. They brought better football players in. They brought in a wide receiver who will tilt the field. They brought in a defensive front 7 player who will make a difference to add to what's already there. Those guys will make the team better. There are some question marks on that team that jump out at you. But they have some better players in key spots. And they should be at least a team that flirts with the 500 mark this year. Game over, game under, or right around it. They should be right there. Maybe they win 8. Maybe they win 9. I guess they could win 7. I mean, but most of the league, most of the league is between 7 and 9. That's where most of the league lives. They're better. Now, there's changes on the coaching staff that have to be dealt with. There's different ways of doing things that have to be dealt with. But we'll see. As for the Jets, and I don't want to, throw rose petals in front of their feet, but there's no way else to say it. They got a lot of talent. And if that quarterback, if that left tackle stays healthy, and he's a top player, he's a Hall of Fame player, and if that quarterback stays healthy, they're going to be really good. They really are. Despite some question marks I have in the coaching staff. But with that quarterback and that roster, they could be really, really good. Now, teams have a big jump on them in terms of who they are. See, Baltimore knows who they are. Buffalo, for all their craziness, knows who they are. And who they are is a little schizophrenic because Allen's play is very up and down, feast and famine. Kansas City really knows who they are. Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame tight end, Hall of Fame defensive lineman, Hall of Fame kicker. They know who they are. And they have plenty of rings to show you who they are. The Jets don't know who they are yet. Everything they are is wrapped up in their quarterback. Is there wonderful young talent there? Yes. Is Hall an all-world talent? Absolutely. He could be the best back in the league. They have a deep back who could be the best deep back in the league. They have a running back who could be the best running back in the league. They have terrific talent. They can hurt you in a variety of ways. And I think they have some guys primed to have terrific seasons. But it all centers on keeping him upright. And the one question mark that's going to carry through that entire season is this. There's going to come a moment when Rodgers is going to take a real shot. How does he deal with that? Where he is in his just conditioning, just where he is at this age, can he withstand that without suffering an injury? That is the question mark that it's going to have you holding your breath all year. Because there's that vulnerability that comes with being his age. There's no way around it. He's not a kid anymore. And at that position, he's an old man. A very talented old man who can still throw the ball wonderfully, but can he take a hit? And can you keep the guys who have to be there? The left tackle has to. I wanted him, I screamed about him for months and months. But I also understand that he misses games and suffers a lot of injuries. He has got to stay healthy. because he will anchor that entire line. That's how good he is. And he will offer Rodgers the protection he needs. Rodgers can break the huddle and be very happy when he sees that guy going to the line in front of him. That's how good he is. He's that good. He's just got to be on the field. If the left tackle plays and the quarterback plays, the Jet fans are going to have a lot of fun. Now, the emails. You can send them to MikeFrancesa@gmail.com. Let's see what's on your mind here. I haven't seen them. We've been gone for a couple of weeks here, as we do periodically in the summer. We'll take another short break, late in August, and then we'll get rolling on a pretty much daily basis after that. But I was in Saratoga. Oh, Whitney Day was a disaster. I never saw a card get wiped out the way Whitney Day did. And Whitney Day is the second biggest day at Saratoga other than the Travis. And it was an incredible card, but they canceled 2 turf races, and the place was a disaster. It was underwater. What a terrible day. I mean, there's just nothing to bet. There's nothing you could do. Also, I've been asked about Casa Creed. Casa Creed has gone now to his, what I hope will be a very, very impressive second career, making babies and making winners. He will stand in Kentucky, and he came up with an injury. It wasn't terrible, but we all felt that we didn't want anything to ever happen to him. He had earned the right to go out the way he lived his career. We didn't ever want him to suffer an injury because we put him out there at less than 100%. So we completely were all on board that as soon as he had anything wrong with him, that he was going to retire. So we retired him. We wanted to see him run one more time at Saratoga, but we retired him, and he'll stand in Kentucky. So hopefully he enjoys his career. I don't know why he wouldn't. So that's where he will be from now on, and you'll see little Casa Creeds running around before too long, hopefully winning some races too along the way. So, like I said, a lot of rain this week here through Friday. A lot of rain expected in Saratoga through Friday or Saturday, so we're going to get hit with a lot of rain. It's been a very hot, sunny summer. If you've been outdoors, you know that. A lot of 90-degree days, a lot of hot days, but it looks like this is going to be a very rainy week with the rain we've had already and the hurricane remnants coming. All right. Emails, MikeFrancesa@gmail.com. Let's take it down the line. After his performance this year, has Judge solidified his place among Yankee greats and maybe the Hall of Fame? I don't know why people are in such a hurry to do this. The answer to both questions is yes and no. If Judge had something befell him and his career was stopped here, which is a terrible thought, but I don't know why everybody thinks it, he will be remembered as remarkable talent. He's already had remarkable seasons. But you make the Hall of Fame and you become an all-time great by doing it over. Greatness is based on doing it over a long period of time. That's how you establish greatness. That's how you establish Hall of Fame credentials. So in that regard, he still has some work to do. We have no doubt he's going to do it. He's on his way to another remarkable season. And he is having seasons that Mantle, Gehrig, DiMaggio, Ruth would be proud of. So when you have a season that is in that category, you're very, very special. He is an incredible player. Somebody his size, with his athleticism, his consistency. So I don't know why everyone's always, if something happens to him today, is he making the Hall of Fame? Hey, let him have his career first. Don't worry about that stuff. It's amazing. Guy has one good year and everyone wants to know if he's going to make the Hall of Fame. I mean, hey, there's plenty of time for the Hall of Fame. Plenty of time. Let him have his career and let him have, hopefully, some postseason success. Because in this day and age, and it was not that way in baseball. See, baseball, you played 154 games or after the change, 162 games. And then you played a World Series that could be 4, 5, 6, or 7 games. That was it. So your career was still based on the regular season. Nobody ran around Boston in the 50s and said, Ted Williams, I mean, can he win a World Series? I mean, the guy's a bum. They didn't say that. They genuflected to his greatness. They loved Ernie Banks in Chicago. He never went near a World Series. A lot of guys played in one World Series in their life. They weren't Mickey Mantle playing in 12 in his first 14 years in the majors. It has changed because now the postseason is a month of games. It has become a big part of who they are. And now, if you don't win, it's like, oh, he didn't win a World Series. Well, there's more to that than just one player. I mean, look at Mike Trout's career. You can be in the wrong place at the wrong time. It doesn't take away from who you are as a player. But it's funny, in every sport now, we talk in terms of rings, especially in football and basketball. We don't do it as much in baseball, but it's more and more in baseball as the postseason becomes a bigger part of their careers. Phil, should Aaron Rodgers play in the preseason? Listen, we all know that this is the age-old, okay? I remember being horrified watching Joe Namath go down in a preseason game knowing his season was over. It leaves a hollow feeling when you see a great player get hurt before the season even starts. And in football, everyone's scared to death of that. So his play will be extremely limited. Should he go out and play a series? Absolutely. Because you know what? You can't hermetically seal these guys and wrap them up and keep them safe. It doesn't work that way. So I expect him to play a quarter in Game 3, and that'll be it. Play a little bit, in obviously we all know what game, and that's it. He's not going to play a lot. He might play a series here in one game and then a quarter in one game, but that's it. And you hold your breath in those moments. You do for any big player. You don't want anybody to get hurt in the preseason, but somebody will tear a knee up in the preseason somewhere around the league. It will happen. Then you'll ask why he was there, because he was preparing for the season. That's his job, whoever it is. And injuries happen. You cannot ward them off. But it's going to be very limited, obviously, his action. Is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer? Yes. In my mind, based on his body of work for his career, the fact that he danced every dance in his career, never got injured, took a million tough hits, and had he had multiple terrific postseason performances, but 2 brilliant fourth quarter performances against a great team, and changed the course of history with his victories against New England. The victory that he led, along with the defense led by Tuck, especially in Strahan, the win over the unbeaten Pats changed the face of history without any question. Beating that team in that spot was as special as any game can be. And if you have any questions, do 2 things. Take out Eli's fourth quarter performances and his statistics in both Super Bowl wins, and then go watch his play in those fourth quarters. That's why he's a Hall of Famer. his longevity, his ability to face the starter year after year after year. He won more than half his games. I know it wasn't by a lot, but he won more than half his games. And he didn't always play on the best team. So, in my mind, he's a Hall of Famer. Mike, this is from Mike. Love the long-term direction that the Mets are headed in. I don't believe Alonso will or should be part of the plan. He would like him to walk. I think that Alonso and the Mets will most likely part ways. I don't think they see their value as the same. I think the Mets fear that Alonso's best days are going to be behind him. They might be right. They might be wrong. He has been an ultra-consistent slugger for them. He can play in New York. Nobody knows what the next 5 years bring, but the Mets have to make a judgment based on what they believe the next 5 years will bring. If they feel that the money can be spent wiser in a different way, then that's their call. They will live with the consequences. I think there is a reason to bring him back, and I think there is a reason to let him go. I think it is a very fine line. I think he has been ultra consistent. I think he can play in New York. He can handle the pressure here. He can handle the music here. But I think this team has moved away from him this year in who they are. I don't think he's the integral part of the team that he was. Maybe that's been by design. Jesse, is there any chance that Belichick would go back to the Jets? I think that is, without question, a non-starter. I don't think that would ever, underline ever happen. That would shock me. You want me to give you a scenario? The Cowboys don't have a huge season. I think Belichick's coaching the Cowboys next year. That's my prediction. It's been 30 years since Mantle died. That is amazing when you think about it. It was in August, as a matter of fact. Do you remember that day and being on the radio? I remember it very well. I had a syndicated show on Sunday mornings that year. I only syndicated the show on Sunday mornings for a couple of years. All year round. I always did the NFL show that was syndicated, but I didn't work the other part of the year on Sunday. For a couple of years, I did, but I always took off in July and August and let Ian Eagle host the show for me. Ian was hosting that morning when I was awakened with the fact that Mickey had died. It was a Sunday morning. They called me up and said, hey, we really think you should come in. Now, I actually got there a couple minutes late, if I remember right. I think I got there just the show was starting like 10 minutes late. And Ian was gracious enough to say, hey, I understand you should be behind the mic for this. So he was supposed to do the show, and I stepped in and did the show. And I know the show, I just spoke from my heart because Mantle was I only had two idols growing up. I've never had another in any sport. I never had an idol in any sport except Mickey Mantle. I had two. I had JFK and I had Mickey Mantle. I never had one in any other sport. I never had that, love affair with a player other than him. I was always very vocal about my feeling about Mantle. Even when I got a chance to interview him, and the first time I have to admit I was nervous. I did interview him about 5 times in my life. Most of them in person, because we would go down to Mickey Mantle's and interview him. He would invite us down. When he had a book coming out or an event going on, they would invite us down, and Mickey would always come on the show with Dog and myself. I remember the day very well. And you have to understand, Mantle was such a special person to so many people that I don't know that many fans have a relationship with a player the way people had with Mantle. the Mantle people, they worshipped him. He was this almost mythical figure in every way. And he was that. That's why his autographs have been worth so much. That's why he created this whole industry of autographs and made a fortune in memorabilia and everything, because the fans just, worshipped them. And there's no other word. They worshipped them. And he touched people that much that when you let the fans come in and talk about it, it was almost like someone in their family had passed. So it was a remarkable show that got a lot of attention. Sometimes you do a show and you just do it from the heart and you're not expecting any reaction. And the reaction to that show was extraordinary. So I remember it very well. And all I did was talk about, what he had meant to me growing up and how I, used to, when I was a kid, I'd be playing ball. And if I was playing near my house, my mother would yell that he was up, and I would run in, stop the game, and run in and watch his at bat, then go run back out and play. I didn't see him that many times in person play. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so I didn't get to go to too many games. I saw him play in '61. My brothers and I went to a game, and Mantle, Blanchard, and Maris all homered against the Cleveland Indians. It was a Saturday afternoon. It was a typical 5 o'clock lightning late rally for the Yankees. And I thought every Yankee game was that way. Mantle, Maris homering, Blanchard, Johnny Blanchard, who was a great pinch hitter and a backup catcher for the Yankees and was a good left-handed home run hitter. I saw him play a game in '63. Whitey Ford against Mudcat Grant. First two games I went to were Cleveland Indian games. And he struck out his first 3 times up and kicked the mitt after his last strikeout. Strike 3, inning was over. You throw the bat, you throw the helmet, you're walking out towards center field. They throw him his glove. He kicked his glove all the way out to center field, the whole way. I watched them do it. I was, as he did it. 64. I told Jim Cott this. I was at the game against. 64. I was at the White Sox game on Labor Day, the doubleheader. He hit a double off Juan Pizarro off the 457 wall in left center field. The Yankees swept the White Sox and moved them to first place. I went with my brother John and his friends to it. I sat all the way upstairs in left field. 67. I was at the stadium on a hot summer night when Killebrew homered, and then Cott pitched to Mantle in the bottom of the 9th, and Mantle homered to tie the game 1-1. The Twins were in a pennant race. The Yankees were awful. Twins were in a pennant race, and I said to Cott later on in an interview, I said, why did you not pitch around Mickey there? They were a terrible team. And it's 1-0. It's the 9th inning. Mickey's up. He can still hit a homer off you. He goes, you might not believe this, kid, he said to me, but I always had great success against Mantle. I couldn't get Elston Howard out, and he was up next. So I pitched to Mantle, and he hit one 450. And then it started raining, and the game was 1-1. It was discontinued. They had to, replay it later. It was a hot, late July, early August night. Someone could give me the date. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it was a hot night, really hot night, and it started raining. And it was 1-1. That was in '67. And I don't think I saw him in '68 in person. In '68, I watched every at-bat I could because I thought we were coming to the end, and I kept a scrapbook. For every game, I kept every box score. I never kept things like scrapbooks or anything. I kept a book that year. Every time he had a home run, I cut it out to paper, the Daily News or Newsday, and I kept the box score for that whole year. He had 18 home runs that year. He had the Denny McClain thing. Then he hit his last home run. Mantle hit his last home run at Yankee Stadium during the midweek off Jim Lomborg. And they said, is that Mickey's last homer? Mickey didn't make any comments because Mickey didn't retire till February 28th. It started leaking out. Then March 1st, he went to camp and said, I can't hit anymore, and retired March 1st, 1969. So he didn't retire after the '68 season, but there were a lot of rumors that he was going to retire. So those are the times I saw him in person. I Obviously, I saw him play in the World Series on TV. 61, 62, 63. 62 and 63, he didn't hit much in the World Series. 64, he had a great World Series, including the walk-off against Barney Schultz in Game 3. Had 3 homers, 8 RBIs in the World Series, including the 3-run homer in Game 7 off Gibson. 63, he had 2 hits. He had a bunt single off Drysdale in Game 3 when the Dodgers swept him 4 straight, then a home run off Sandy in Game 4. Yankees lost the game 2-1, and they lost the series in 4 straight. And 62, he played against Mays, and there was a lot of rain in that series, and neither Mays nor Mantle had a big series offensively. They both had bad series. So I do remember that very well, to get off on a tangent. But it's amazing that it's 30 years ago. It really is. It really is amazing that it's that long ago. It shows you how, I started on the fan in 87. Dog and I started in 89. I've been gone from the fan now for, a handful of years. It goes fast. It really does, unfortunately. Owen, what are your thoughts on the chaotic stock market and the economy? Here's the same thing I would say all the time. Stock market advice really matters how old you are. You have a much different view of the market if you're 65 or 70 than you do if you're 30. If you're 30, you have the most important element of all on your side, and use it. It's time and the compounding of your investments that over time will prove incredibly lucrative for you if you do it right. And that means buy good companies, hold them, reinvest the dividends, reinvest the stock splits, don't sell anything, and then you will amass a good amount of money without trying. Buy good companies and keep them until they're not good companies anymore. And as far as the other day, I didn't sell 1 share of stock, as an example. So the worst thing you could do is panic. You don't run out of the market when it goes south. You run out of the market when it gets high. You don't run out of the market when it gets low. You sell high and buy low. That's the idea. It's not always easy to do. It's hard to do emotionally, but that's why it works, because it's hard to do. All right, enjoy, everybody. Listen, we'll be doing programs most of the month. We'll be on and off, but before you know it, football season's going to be right here. We're going to be past Labor Day, and then we're going to be wall to wall. So we'll see you soon. Goodbye.